If your restaurant falls apart when you leave, even just for a week, congratulations. You don't have a business, you have a job. Now, a lot has been written on this subject, right? There's the E-Myth revisited. There's that famous quote, the more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business actually is. But all the control you're trying to exert, or maybe all the control you do exert onto your business, isn't actual freedom. Freedom is true control, the ability to step out and step aside. And if you ever want to step out of your business, if you ever want to grow your business, if you ever want to franchise your business, that business cannot do it when you are there. You are the bottleneck, has been said over and over and over again. So how do you get there? That's what this video is all about. We're going to talk about the systems and mindset shifts that are required to put in place to make that growth, to make that sort of freedom possible. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Chip Klose. I'm the founder and CEO of Restaurant Strategy. I help independent restaurant owners increase the profitability of their businesses. It comes down to more money and less time. I wrote a book. It's called The Restaurant Marketing Mindset. I give talks. I've got my content here, and I have a coaching program. It's called the P3 Mastermind, where I work hand in hand with restaurant owners from all over the world. If you're curious about any of those things, you can find those links in the caption. Also, if you haven't already subscribed, make sure to go down, hit the bell, subscribe. You'll be notified every time new videos come out. Okay, now let's talk about this, right? Freedom is real control, because when you can step away, you know that the controls are already in place. You know that you have the systems in place. If you want to, now let's talk about this, right? If you want to just step back from the business, live on a beach somewhere, and make sure that somebody sends you a steady distribution check every month, then you need to make sure that your team knows what they need to do in order to run a successful, profitable restaurant with consistency. If you want to be able to grow that business, well, you can't possibly be in two places at once. So the first place has to be able to stand on its own so you can go open the second, third, fourth, fifth place, right? That requires systems and teams. And let's say you want to franchise. You need to make sure your property is branded, is differentiated, and is very, very profitable, because you're going to look a potential franchisee in the face and you're going to ask them for 8% right off the top. Usually it's a 6 and 2, 6% royalty that the franchisor would take, and then either 1% for national marketing, 1% for local marketing. At the very least, it's 7% royalty plus marketing. Most of the times it's a 6 and 2, 6% royalty plus 2% marketing spend. So you're going to lob 8% right off the top from anyone who franchises from you, which is good for you, except you got to make sure that they are still profitable. Because if you say, hey, you're going to do 12% minus the 8% that you pay the franchisor, you'll probably take home 4%. I don't know, on $1 million business, for somebody to make $40,000 a year, not really reasonable, not really worth it in my eyes. And I think in a lot of smart, savvy franchisees. So if you want to step back from the business, you need systems and people. You need the controls in place. If you want to grow this business, you need to know that every new location can be just as successful, just as profitable as the first one. And if you want to franchise, you got to be able to look a franchisee in the face and tell them with certainty that you know how to give them the tools, the books, the playbooks, the systems, so that they can be insanely profitable, just like you've been on the first few locations. Whatever it is, true freedom, the ability to step back from your business, is real freedom. Real freedom equals real control. So how do we do it? First things first, if you are thinking you want to step back, if you are thinking that you want to franchise, if you are thinking you want to open a second, third, fourth location, here's what I tell everybody. All of my clients, everyone who's a member of the P3 Mastermind, I say you got to take 90 days off. 90 days where you do not walk into any of your restaurants. It has to stand up on its own. My caveat to that is that you can do as much as 4 hours of phone meetings every single week. That's it. You can only participate 4 hours a week, and you cannot walk in. You cannot touch the line. You cannot touch the reservation book. You cannot shake hands with anybody. You have to leave. You know why? Because if you go open that second location in the town, one town over, it's going to be 90 days before you can walk back into your original location. Unless it's 2 minutes down the road. My guess is you're not opening a second location 2 minutes down the road. It's going to be 25 minutes away. It's going to be 35 minutes away minimum, because you don't want to pull audiences from one to the next. You want to be able to serve two totally different audiences, which means you're probably going to be in another side of the market or another market entirely. When you go open a new restaurant, P.S., I'm sure you guys have opened restaurants before, you know you can't. It's like having a baby, right? You can walk away from the restaurant about as long as you can walk away from the baby. When a restaurant is new, it is like a baby. You cannot walk away that soon. So if you work there for a few days and then you want to spend a couple days back at the original main location, can't do it. Not going to be able to do it because the baby's going to get into trouble. The second location being your baby. So if it's going to be 90 days before you can really walk in and adjust or have any sort of input or oversight into the day-to-day operation, then you got to figure out how to make this thing run for 90 days without you. 90 days is a very, very difficult length of time to fake it. The people have to be in place. The systems have to be in place. The oversights, the controls. So if you want to step back, if you want to retire and still hold on to the ownership of the restaurant, if you want to franchise, if you want to open another location, minimum before you do any of that, you got to spend 90 days away from the business. You can do a couple of phone calls, but 90 days where you are out of the day-to-day operation. That's the thing. So now, what are you going to need to get those 90 days to run problem-free? You need to put systems in place. The most important thing is you have to have the right people. You have to have specifically the right leadership in place, people who are going to be your surrogate, that you can trust to do what you need them to do, and then all of the systems below that, right? Jim Collins wrote Good to Great. Good to Great, I think, is the very best business book ever written on the subject. While it's a little outdated in the examples, the frameworks that he gives, I think, are tried and true, tested over time. I think they will never change. And he talks about very early on, the key is having the right people on the bus in the right seats. So before you put anything else in place, you need to have the right people on the bus in the right seats. And then let's talk about those systems, right? Forecasting and budgeting right away. You got to manage your revenue, right? So how much revenue do you think you're going to make this month? And then what does that mean for your revenue targets for the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, all of that? It's one of the big things that we teach in the P3 Mastermind. We've got the P3 scorecard that we give to every member because it's the tool, it's the single tool that will change your business. So you need a way to set daily revenue targets. That generates a forecast. Then that spits out budgets for the key areas of your business. That's got to be in place before you step aside. You have to know who's doing the ordering, and is there a system in place for ordering, right? Are there PARs? Are there purchase guides? Do you have approved vendors? All of that. You've got to have scheduling in place, literally who does the schedule, who sets the budget, and then who does the schedule, who provides oversight there, who does the payroll, who oversees and makes sure that people actually get paid, who does inventory, right? Inventory, PARs, ordering, they all go together. You need to know who's doing that system. Accounts payable, you got to make sure to pay your vendors. Maybe a bunch of them are on auto pay, but I know as a small business owner, you've got to manage cash flow. So who's actually making sure that people get paid so people can still send you deliveries? That's important. Who's doing the hiring and the training? Because for sure, over the course of 90 days, you will lose a couple of people. So is there a system in place for acquiring new talent and getting them up to speed? You got to understand who's doing it, and you have to have a system in place. Who's looking after the general cleanliness of the place? The health department is a big deal this day and age in most states, most cities. So who's overseeing the general upkeep, the physical plant? Who's looking out for that? And then, man, the last thing is marketing. Who's handling the marketing engine and who's overseeing all of the efforts and the budget there so that we make sure we can get new people in the front door. We make sure we've got a system for getting people to come back and increasing the frequency of visits. We make sure that we're generating online reviews and we're sparking that word of mouth. For me, there's a lot else that happens, but those are the bare minimums that have to be in place. That's the foundation of a really good set of SOPs. If you want to do anything big with your business, meaning expand or franchise or just step back and pass this off to the next generation, live on a beach somewhere, have them send you a distribution check once a month, this has to be in place. You got to have the right people on the bus in the right seats, and you have to have this stuff systematized so that they know what they're supposed to be doing, when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to be doing it, and why it matters to the business that they do it. So if you cannot step away from your business, man, congratulations. You don't have a business, you got a job. But if you want a business, if you want to go from operator to owner, you can do that. And it's not that hard. You can have all this stuff in place in the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe max. And then you can take your 90 days off. And when you come back from your 90 days and you're like, man, this place is still standing. And what I hope you find is that the place is in even better shape than you left it. When you do that, then you can set about the real task of expansion and really mapping that out, really business development, looking for new locations, figuring out how to do your FDD if that's what you're going to do. But the first step is you have to understand that you have to get that freedom away from the day-to-day. That is true power and true control over your business. Again, my name is Chip Klose. I'm the founder and CEO of Restaurant Strategy. I help restaurant owners increase the profitability of their businesses so that they can grow, so that they can get more freedom. I run something called the P3 Mastermind. That link is down in the caption. If you want to learn more about it, you go, you click it, you watch a quick video, sign up for a call. We'll have a chat with me or someone from my team. We'll answer all your questions. We'll probably have some questions for you. That's it, guys. Go check out some of the other videos. And if you're curious, if you want to work with me and my team, set up a call to learn more about the P3 Mastermind.